In this video, we're going to focus on the canvas background color in Chartjs, and this is part 2 of the plugin exploration. So let's look here right now what we have here, and we have this part here. And what I would like to do is here give you a practice exercise for this to understand how to soft code these items here. So let's look at this. So we have here basically our items we get here from the Chartjs documentation. So we have this here. So how can we soft code this? Well, first of all, we have these here, and this is quite interesting. This should already give you some hints. However, how do we get this one? You might be confused. How will we get this? Well, let's look here. What really happens is basically the ctx equals the chart.canvas, and then it says get context, which means drawing whatever is in the what we have to draw. In this case, it draws specifically this. And you might wonder, why do we put in this here? Well, in this case, because we're not using a constructor, because the constructor was only built here in the default for the default Chartjs. But this part here must be specified separately because it says the following: draw before, and what we're going to draw is something custom. This is custom made specifically for our case. So what we want to do now is we want to, first of all, let's look at this one more time. Well, let's get the ctx, understanding what is exactly this specific line of code here. So we can see here, what is this? What is this? So what we can do here is the following. Oh, before we do that, we need to go here just one down, because here we first assign it, and then we can give a console.log, put it in here, save this. Alright. We save this, refresh, open up the developer tab, and you will see eventually what we really have here is, well, a lot of codes, and you can see immediately where it specifies too. It's specifically the canvas and canvas hashtag mychart, which means the ID tag. And if we specify this specifically, let's grab this one here, refresh. Now you can see it keeps on reloading, but eventually you can see here, what are we dealing with? Well, basically we're just getting the canvas ID of my chart with the width and the height of 800. However, due to the pixel commands we put in here, eventually the height and the width is only 400 pixels. Alright, so this is basically what we have here, and what I want to do now in this case is soft code these here. So how can we soft code them here? Well, first of all, if you understand here, we get with this, we probably can play around, because now you understand this grabs the information from here. So you understand these two connections. So now is my question for you: how would you soft code all of these information here based on the width commands here? Probably the first, or this one here, will be the easiest one. I'm going to give you this one immediately, but I want you to challenge yourself to do this. So this is a small action exercise. What I want you to do is to pause the video first, see if you can solve it, and afterwards I will show you exactly how to do it. Alright, so I hope you try to figure it out yourself. If not, don't worry. If it was a hard one, I understand. This is slightly tricky because I didn't explore this or explain this so far yet. However, I wanted to force you to figure out how would you do it. Well, first things first. We have all of these here. We already figured out these two here, or at least the last two here. And remember, I was referring to this here before. Basically, these two have different starting and ending points. As you can see here, we already know what's the starting and ending point. All we need to do here is basically use a formula, and what I'm referring to is this. So if we already know, we get the chart width here. So let's double check, what is the chart width exactly here? Well, it should be 400, of course. If I save this, and I'm going to comment this out or remove this one here, refresh, we get a chart width of 400. Very straightforward. However, how can we get then, for example, the 0? Well, we can use here a multiplier. Basically here, if we want to have this here in percentage terms, we would say here it's first 0%, then again 0%, and then again we have here that will be probably 50% because we know that the width and the height is 400 pixels. So the other one will be also 50%, but you cannot use percentage in here. So you need to take these numbers and we have to soft code them relative to whatever we have here. To do this, all we need to do is basically this here. So just say here, for example, if we want to have this one, we just say multiply by 0. And then if we want another one, let's say here, this one, we want 50%. Well, we just multiply the 400 by 0.5. And if you want 100%, well, this is set on 100%. So we don't have to multiply it by 1 because it doesn't make sense. However, this is the way you do it. So if I save this now and refresh, you'll see here now we get 0 and 200. Alright, and that's exactly what you want. You want the starting point 0, 0, ending point 200 by 200. So let's do this one and start playing around with this. So we're going to grab this. They say we put it in here and we can put it in here. But here's the most important part. Remember, this is the y, so we have to work with the height here. And the reason for this is if you have a rectangle, right now we have a square, so it would not matter. But if you have a rectangle design, in that case, you will have a problem if you use different kind of width. If you use the width, because the width could be longer, especially for bar chart, they're longer compared to the height. So this is very important to remember. So we say here equal to height, and then the same here, we can copy all of this code and put it in here. Alright, and once we have that, and then finally here, we can just say here width equal to 0 or multiplied by 0 is 0, and height multiplied by 0 equals 0 as well. I save this now, and there you are. So now we are nicely soft coded here. Alright, so this is a useful exercise to practice. So what I would like you to do one more time is to create a more advanced checker where we have not only 2 different checkers, but basically we have one. We can do here 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 by 4, in total of 16 squares. So this is the last exercise we have for this video. So you try this now, pause the video for now, and then after that, I will show you the answer. Alright, so I hope it worked, and if it did not work, do not worry, let's start and explore exactly here. So the first thing what we need to do here is we need to work with far more rectangles. So if we have 16 items here, we will be working with 16 squares. So there will be 16, so 4 by 4, it's 16. So how we can do this is we don't need really 16 of these because we have white ones. The white ones will be set by default, but we do have the others. So let's start and work. So we need in total of 8. To understand what we need is we need to know here then first what is the pixel amount. The pixel amount here in this case will be 25%, 25%, and 100 pixel, 100 pixel, 100 pixel, and 100 pixel. Meaning here, if we have here 50% for 2 squares, 25% will be for 4 squares in one single row, and every single row here. So let's start and explore this. Alright, so I'm going to copy this one more time. I'm going to paste it in here, and then we're going to paste this one in here. So we have here in total right now, we have 4, and I expect to have 8. But let's work with the basics first. So to make sure that's very clear, I want to start here with the numbers. We say 0, and then here is 0. Then eventually what we want to do, because it's 25%, we say here 100. And this will be also 100. And then what we have is, we have a next one. We do exactly the same. But here it will be, let me see, it needs to start here at 100. Then 100. And this, if I'm not mistaken, will be 200 by 200. Or 100 as well, sorry. But we have to make sure that this works. So let's save this first, just to make sure to get a better visual. Save this, refresh. Alright, so that's what I want. Because I want to push it in here. So then we have this, basically this is already done. So now we go up for the next one, which is on this side here. So here, basically here, we're going to work with the same part, except that now we want to move more to the right. Moving more to the right means we're going to play around with the x0 and the y0. So we say here, this will eventually be, well, we want to move it, we're going to move here more. So this will still be, the top is still considered 0, but the the x, we're going to move here. Sorry, there will be 200. All right, so I hope you figured that one out as well. It's slightly confusing. So we say x is 200, but the y is 0. All right, and then we have here, let's check if I have a visual just to make sure, because this is quite challenging as well because you need to see it. So the next thing what we want to do here, exactly the same, we're going to do another one here as well. So we want here, in this case, we're going to move again here, and then this is not 200, it will be 300, but then 100 down, so it's somewhere here. So we say here, this will be 300, and then this will be 100. Save, refresh. All right, so there we are. So now we can almost copy this. We use almost the same methodology for the remaining ones. So once we have this, we need to know what's our starting point. In this case, our starting point here on the x is at 0, but we want to go down 200 pixels. So we say here y is 200. Oh, sorry, not in there, I want to have this one. So if I save this, I comment out these. All right. So now we do the next one, and that one will be, we're going from here, we want to move it 100 in the x, and then we go down 300. All right. So that's what we're going to do. We say 100 here, and then down 300. Save that, refresh. All right. So now same story for this square here, this tile. So we're going to move here 200 with x, and the y we go also 200. So 200 by 200. So I'm going to remove this here. Save that. There you are. And then the final will be, we're going to move 300 down here, and then here will be also 300. So 300 by 300 is for the last one. Then we've got it. Save, refresh. Alright, so we've got this now. Now it's time to just move them into the percentages here. So let's start and work with this just to make sure we can copy this to chart width. I'll put this on 0. I'll put this on 0. Then we say here, this is the chart width, but then here will be the height on 0. Alright, so we've got that. And then here we have almost, but the only thing what we have is, remember, we have, this is a width of 400 pixels, meaning 25% every square. So we can work here with 25% on this square here. So times 0 to 5. I'm going to grab this there, and then we do height. Alright, so if I have this one now, and we save this and refresh, everything stays the same. Alright, so we have this. Now basically we can copy here with the width and height should be already this, and then here save. This is exactly the same because this is all 100, and this one can be maintained. I realize this is always 100 because that's the size of the square or the tile itself, but here's the position of it. So here 200 would be equal to 50%, and this, all right, means 50, and here this will be equal to 75%. Once we have that, then we have the next one here. 0 will be equal to height 0. And the other one will be equal, 100 pixels is 25% of the height. Alright, now we have that. Let's save this and refresh. You can see now we have everything except that we have still some work to do here, but don't worry, we're going to do this one. Alright, so what we're going to do here is the following. Let's see what happened here. Somehow I do realize that we have one tile here, I think that's broken, but don't worry, we're going to fix that. Might have something copied, but don't, we will figure out that later on. So let's do this one first. Here we have this times 25%. This one will be times 50%. And this one times 300. Or 75. Here, well, we are working with the height, so I'm just going to grab the height here. We'll say here the height would be 200, and this 200 will be 50%. Then we have another one will be 300, will be 75%. And this one is again 200, it's 50%. And finally 300, 75%. And the last, you can see at the very end, is always consistent because this is just the width of the tile and the height of the tile, the shape of it basically. So the last two are just shape related. Alright, so if I save this, let's see what we have. We have everything except for this one. So what is this one? This is probably the third tile, which would be, if you move here, this will start at 200, and top is 0, but 200 to the right. So let's search for that one. Most likely it's this one here. And let's see, this one would be, we can just comment out this to save and refresh. Alright, so we have these two tiles, that means that we're in the right location. So this one is probably, if I do this one, save, refresh, we get that one. Alright, that's the only one that's the issue. So now we have this one here. So what was it? So we have here, the width would be 0.5. It's 200 pixels. And the top is 0, which is correct. So we just have to double check what's going on here. Do we have anything that's missing? So the width is 0.5. Height, oh, alright, you can see here, I misspelled height, sorry. Save this, and then once we refresh, there you are. So, and this is basically how you can play around within here. And this is a long chunk of code, although this is not really practical. However, my goal here was not really to teach you something that's practical, but to force you to understand how to work with these numbers here. And to be honest, it looks quite easy, but once you start to work on it, it's slightly challenging because you just have to double check every time if you have the right codes. But this is eventually how you will have your tile design at the very back here. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this video, you probably will enjoy this one as well. And if you're interested in Chartjs, check out in the description box the link directing to my Chartjs course where you can learn everything about Chartjs. And finally, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel.